All right, so now that we've got the printer lifted up and put on the stand, what we're showing you here is the remaining contents of the box. And we've got these two printer guides, which I'll show you how to put onto the printer in a second. We've got the ink cartridges, the paper holders, roll adapters, an actual short roll of sample paper that we'll actually be doing a nozzle check and a head alignment on, using that paper for that. And then we've got the power cord and the user guide and manual. What I'm going to do is go ahead and just clip these paper guides on. This helps guide the paper out into the basket if you want to. There's some clips underneath here. You just basically squeeze those tabs and then put it into the clips on the bottom of the printer. And these can actually come out and snap into place and actually allow the paper to guide either from an outward angle, or actually if you want to squeeze that and push it back in, the paper can come down straight and go into the basket. At this point, what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove all of the packing and tape materials. There's like a bazillion pieces of tape on the front, the top, the back of the printer. So we'll just go ahead and remove that at this point. All right, so we've got the packing tape removed from the printer. We went ahead and spun the printer around so that you could see the back connections, because we're going to go ahead and plug this in to power it up. The printer comes with a power cord. The power cord plugs in right over here. And we'll just go ahead and insert that, then plug it into the outlet and the power. As far as connectivity, the printer can be connected to your computer via Ethernet or USB, and obviously Ethernet can go on your network as well. So what you want to do is make sure do not plug both Ethernet in and USB in at the same time. So here's where the Ethernet port plugs into, and then you've also got the USB option as well, and that goes right here. So again, don't plug them in both at the same time, choose one or the other. Important to note that the printer does not come with an Ethernet cable or USB cable, so you do need to have one of those. If you don't have one laying around, you can go ahead and purchase that through DTG as well. All right, so now that we've got the printer plugged in, we're going to go ahead and install the ink. To do that, we've got to power on the machine first. We'll go ahead and power it up by pushing the round button, the power button on the left side of the control panel. Now, we'll take a few seconds to go ahead and boot up. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and show you the ink tanks themselves. With the 77 and 9700, you've got 5 inks: cyan, magenta, yellow, photo black, and matte black for the matte papers. And they come in these bags. To open them, there's basically a tear notch in the upper corners of the bag. We'll go ahead and just kind of tear that down. But before we insert these into the printer, whether it's the first time or if we're placing ink down the road, what we want to do is kind of just give it a mild shake for about 5 seconds. And this will help agitate the ink that's inside the actual cartridge itself. So we'll just go ahead and give that a little bit of a shake. And again, since this is the first time, basically the printer will prompt us on the front panel to go ahead and install these ink tanks, and it went ahead and just automatically popped open the ink tank door. So we'll just continue to open that up by swinging it down, and then we'll put the ink tanks into the printer. So the ink tanks are labeled. They've got an arrow in the color of the ink it actually is, and it's basically pointing in the direction in which you want to put the ink into the printer. Also down here on the door, we've got the color codes as well as part numbers to help you line up the individual ink tank into the proper slot. So we'll go ahead and slide that in. These are grooved, and I'll push, and I'll actually push until I actually get a little bit of resistance and then hear a click. And what I'll do is go ahead and do that for each of the ink tanks so that we can load up the ink. Give that a little bit of a shake. And this is the matte black tank, so I'm going to put it in the matte black slot, and we'll go ahead and continue on with the rest of the inks. So once I insert the last cartridge into the printer, we'll go ahead and close the ink cover door, or ink door cover, and the printer will actually go ahead through an automatic ink charging process. So this is going to actually plumb the entire system. It's going to pump the ink into the actual tubes that lead into the print head, get everything primed, make sure everything's firing right, and get the ink loaded and finished. So this is going to take anywhere between about 5 and 10 minutes at this point. So the ink is finished loading. We get a message on the front panel saying paper out. Before we go ahead and load the paper, I do want to talk about one more item, a consumable that you will be replacing here and there. It's called the maintenance tank. The maintenance tank is located on the right-hand side of the printer. And what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and on the side just reach and pull that out. And basically you see there is some ink in here. This is from the initial charge process. So this ink is basically where or it comes from any kind of cleanings that you might do on the print head, or again, when it initially charges, this is where that waste ink goes. You will probably replace this, you know, depending on use, anywhere from every 3 to 6 or 7 months. So real easy. It's a $39 part. We'll just go ahead and pop it back into the side of the printer. All right, so let's load the paper. We're going to load the roll of paper that came with the printer, and this is a lesser expensive double weight matte bond paper. So we'll go ahead and take off the protective cover, and I'm going to set that right on top of the printer, which has got a little bit of a groove in it where it can hold rolls of paper. And I'm going to show you the roll adapters. These are the end caps that actually go onto the ends of the rolls. And really cool because some papers come in 2-inch cores like the double weight matte, and you'll actually see some papers come in 3-inch cores, which would be a little bit wider than this. Well, these spindle adapters, or roll adapters, excuse me, basically have 2 or 3-inch adapters built right into them. So there's a little lever on the back side. If I slide that, you'll notice that this is now ready for a 3-inch core. So I can just slide this and toggle it back between 2-inch and 3-inch depending on the roll size that I've got. All right, so this is a 2-inch. We'll slide it back to 2-inch. We'll take our paper and we'll put the end cap on. You'll notice I can't put it in any longer. I'm going to just swing that little lever out, push it in, and then close it, and now it's gripped. These are interchangeable. Doesn't matter if you put them on the left or the right side. Go ahead and pop that in. Now we've got the paper with the adapters on it. Up here, we've got the carrier system for in the printer that holds the actual roll. This is a lock lever and an unlock position. So you'll notice in the lock position, I'm not really moving it to the left. I can't move it. So if I push it down, I can now move it. And this will adjust depending on the width of the roll that I have, maxed out to 24 inches wide. So if I've got a 10-inch roll, or 11 or 14 or 16, I can just simply move this in to adjust for that size roll. This is obviously a 24-inch roll. All right, on the printer itself, you've got some arrows, white arrows, which is what you're going to line your end caps up with. Easiest way to do this is basically when we put the paper into the printer, we want the paper winding down. All right, so down into the printer, not doing one of these back and then down through the printer. So just over the top and down into the printer. Then what I'll do is I'll just slide that to the right until it hits this black stop. That means it's lined up on the right. Then I'll just roll it into the printer or just lift it in, and then I'm going to grab the arm and move it over to the right. Once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and lock this into position so it can't move left to right. So since this is a brand new roll, we'll go ahead and lift the paperwork off. And then a lot of the Epson medias come with a protective sheet that's actually on the roll. We'll go ahead and pull that off. All right, so now we're ready to actually feed the paper down into the printer. Now on the front panel, the printer's letting us know that the paper's out. Upper right hand corner of the control panel, what we've got is a white button. This white button controls how I can load paper in and out of the printer. So if I push this, the message on the front panel will actually say paper released. And what this is actually releasing the roll platen so that I can now feed the roll or the sheet or the paper down into the printer path. So at this point we'll go ahead and grab the paper, pull it out a little bit, and then we'll feed the paper down into the printer. And what I want to do is I just want to feed the paper down until I can actually see it down here on the print platen, all right, below the actual glass in the cover area. So if I can touch it and grab it down here, that's as far as I need to go with feeding the paper in. At this point, we'll just hit that paper load button, the upper right button, push that, and basically the printer will now automatically grab the paper, feed it into the machine, measure it, and then find out and make sure that it's straight. If it's not straight, it will automatically go ahead and independently control these roll adapters to straighten the media up. So really convenient, cool system for loading the roll paper. Once the printer has loaded the paper, it's checked the straightness and the width of the paper, the front panel will actually ask us a question on what kind of paper is loaded into the machine. So currently, because it's the first time, it says, is this plain paper? I'm going to say no, it's not plain paper. It's an actual matte or double weight paper. So what I'm going to do is say no, go down into the paper menu, find matte papers, find double weight matte, and select that and register that paper into the printer. All right, so what we're going to do now is basically, since this is the first time that we've set up this machine and we want the best print quality we can get, I'm going to run a couple of tests. And the first one I'm going to do is what's called a nozzle check. The nozzle check will verify, or I can visually verify, if all of my jets or the nozzles in the printer are firing. So to do that, I'm basically just going to go into the menu system by hitting the menu button. Then I'm going to go to test print, and then go to nozzle check, and then hit enter on the print selection. And what this is going to do, again, it's going to print out a test pattern firing each and every nozzle that's on the print head for every color. What I'm going to do is it's going to be a stair-step pattern. I'm going to look at that and see if every one of those stair steps is actually showing up in that pattern. If I have any gaps or breaks or anything like that, that means that I've got some nozzle clogs, some errors on the print head, and I would need to run a print head cleaning at that point, which I can actually do right from the front panel of the printer. That's how fast the nozzle check prints. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look at the pattern, and I can visually see that basically I have a perfect print head nozzle check. And not sure if you guys can see that, but basically you've got your cyan, magenta, yellow, photo black, and matte black, and twin patterns for each one because it's using double the nozzles compared to the other Epson printers. So I'm visually looking at this, making sure that there's no gaps or breaks or anything like that to make sure that the nozzle check is good. Now, one note, these new series printers, whether it's the 77, 7890, 7900, have automatic nozzle check and nozzle verification. And works pretty well, but periodically you may want to go ahead and just do a manual visual verification yourself just to make sure that those nozzles are firing, especially if you haven't printed to the printer in several weeks. All right, so now that we've verified with our nozzle check that all of our nozzles are firing, I'm going to run a print head alignment. Really only need to do this once, all right, or once between actual physical moving the printer. So basically this verifies and adjusts the print head to make sure that all of our jets, all of our colors are registered both in unidirectional and bidirectional printing. Again, we only have to do this once, but to do it we're going to go ahead and go into the menu. I'm going to go down to the head alignment option, go into that. I'm going to select alignment and then auto. The printer has a sensor on it that will actually visually look at the print head alignment and then do an automatic adjustment if it needs to do that adjustment. So yeah, leave it on auto. And there's two tests we're actually going to run in here. The first one is Uni-D. It's the first one in the list. So I'm basically going to select Uni-D and then hit enter. It's going to print out the pattern. The printer is automatically going to feed the paper, read the pattern, and if there's any adjustments it needs to make, it's going to go ahead and do that. Once that's finished, all right, I'm going to go back into the alignment menu and run one more. I'm going to run the by D, it's by-D, and then all. All right, so I select the by D all, same test pattern or a different test pattern, but the same process. It's going to read them in, making any adjustments, and then once it's finished, it's ready and ready to print. So let's go ahead and run the Uni-D. I'll hit enter. Printer fires up and starts to print the test pattern. We'll go through that process and then I'll run the by D all pattern as well. Alright, so the head alignment patterns have all printed. This is what they look like, by the way, after they print and the machine automatically cuts it. But we did the Uni-D and the by D all patterns. What I want to talk about now is actually unloading roll media and actually loading sheet media as well. So as you can see, the roll is actually still loaded in the machine. To get the roll unloaded from it, if we want to change the roll to a different type or we want to load sheets, I'm basically going to again go to the paper load button on the front panel of the printer. So I'm going to push that button and the printer will actually automatically rewind that roll and then basically eject it from the machine. So with sheets, these printers, just because they're big doesn't mean they can't print to small sheets. So I could load an 8.5 by 11, 11 by 17, and actually even load this large poster board into the printer as well. So we can print right to rigid poster board. For more information on this, just give DTG a call or visit dtgweb.com. So to load the sheet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the printer from out of roll mode, which it came set up as, and I'm just going to push the paper button, which is either sheet or roll, and keep pushing it until the sheet icon shows up on the front panel of the printer. So once the sheet icon shows up, I'm going to go ahead and push that right button again to close the lever. All right? So to load a sheet, I'm basically going to close this cover. And you'll see a line that's actually on the printer, on the cover, and then also on the printer platen itself. And when I take my sheet and I insert that into the printer, you'll notice it stops because that print platen is closed because I pushed the white button over on the panel. So I'm going to line up the right edge of the paper onto those lines that are on the printer, the guides. And then on the front panel of the printer, it says press the down arrow button. So what I like to do is actually put a little bit of downward pressure. You don't have to on all medias, but some thicker medias, you just want to put a little bit of downward pressure on the top of the sheet and then push the down arrow. And basically the printer, the rollers automatically grab the sheet. It'll do the same process as the roll. It'll come out and it'll find the left and the right edge, measure the width, and then also verify that it's straight as well. That's all there is to loading the sheet. Alright, so we've showed you how to set up the printer, how to load ink tanks, load roll and sheet medias, and do the print head alignment. Basically, we're finished with the setup of the actual printer itself. The last thing remaining in the box, other than all the parts that we've put together, are basically your user guide and CD and software, which is located in the user guide, as well as your Epson Preferred warranty booklet. This thing's really important. Don't just discard it. It's basically got your warranty information in it, as well as a toll-free number and what's called your unit ID number. That unit ID number is real important for talking to a human being very quickly at Epson. You just punch that in, it'll get you right through to Epson Pro support, which is at the top of the queue and allowing you to talk to any kind of tech support. Now, if you purchase the printer from DTG or you get your supplies from DTG, call us first. We can answer anywhere from 80 to 90% of your questions. Anything that's hardware mechanically broken or is a warranty issue, then we'd go ahead and refer you to Epson in this 888 number where you can punch in that unit ID number. So that's pretty much it. At this point, we're going to go ahead and install the software on the Mac and on the Windows platforms. And at that point, once you've got that software installed, you're ready to start making prints on your printer. That's our installation and setup video for the Epson 7700 and 9700 printers. You saw the 7700. Again, the 9700 is exactly the same, just 44 inches wide. Everything else is really pretty much identical in loading inks and paper. So again, thank you for joining us. This is Scott at DTG. DTG, again, is a value-added reseller selling complete solutions from input to output, wide format, CAD engineering, print for pay solutions, as well as color management solutions. You can reach us at 800-681-0024 or visit us online at www.dtgweb.com. Thanks a lot.